Hi, Elon Musk speaking. I expect to receive a car that I've just bought, which is called the McLaren F1.
It's $1 million for a car. It's decadent.
There are 62 McLarens in the world, and I will own one of them. Just 3 years ago, I was showering at the Y and sleeping on the office floor, and now, obviously, I've got a $1 million car and quite a few creature comforts.
My fear is that we become spoiled brats, that we lose a sense of appreciation and perspective.
So, which living person do you most admire?
I admire anyone who is making a positive contribution to humanity, whether that is in entertainment or in technology, or, I think anyone who's sort of doing things that are really useful to the rest of humanity, I admire them greatly.
Elon, do you think Dogecoin can really be the next currency for the world?
Well, I mean, there's currently a poll to say, what do you want?
I want it to go. I'm in.
All right. So then, I think it should be the will of the people, What would be the most ironic outcome? That the currency that was invented as a joke, in fact, becomes the real currency.
Right. Wow. No, absolutely. So, to the moon.
To the moon.
Come on, read it. And my stock went up. My Dogecoin went up because you tweeted.
There you go.
You gotta be kidding me.
Sorry?
You're Elon Musk.
I am?
What are you doing here?
I'm washing dishes. Well, I was on the turkey line, but I got demoted for being too generous with the gravy.
Oh man, what an honor to meet you. I'm such a fan of Tesla and SpaceX, all your companies. Howard Wolowitz, Caltech.
Nice to meet you, Howard. It feels great to come down here and help the less fortunate, huh?
Oh, yeah.
We're always looking for engineers. So let me give you my email, we can stay in touch.
Thank you.
Oh, look. Someone hardly touched their pumpkin pie. Want to share it with me?
A partially eaten piece of pumpkin pie from a homeless shelter with Elon Musk? You bet I do!
It's really hard to escape Elon Musk's dominance over so many things in American life right now. He's got this rocket company that is completely dominating the space launch business. He's got a car company that is completely dominating the electric vehicle market. He's got 65 million Twitter followers, and he likes to make weird jokes and set people off. And sometimes with a single tweet, he can control the stock market or the value of various different cryptocurrencies.
Elon Musk Reeve was born in June 28th in Pretoria, South Africa. His mother is May Musk, a model and dietitian from Regina, Canada, and his father, Errol Musk, a South African electromechanical engineer, pilot and sailor. Due in part to the fact that his father owned an emerald mine in Zambia, Musk grew up with an affluent lifestyle which led to many of his interests later in life and inspired him to found Tesla. Elon was a very skilled learner, easily understanding programming and complex reading. He read Isaac Asimov's Foundation as a child, and even created his own video game at age 10, selling it for $500 at today's value. And by age 12, he had taught himself computer programming. The biggest lesson he got from his childhood was, you should take the set of actions that are likely to prolong civilization, minimize the probability of a dark age, and reduce the length of a dark age if there is one. Despite this, it wasn't all happy news for Musk, as he was severely bullied throughout his childhood, and was once hospitalized after a group of boys threw him down a flight of stairs.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk! Billionaire Elon Musk making his late-night debut, hosting Saturday Night Live, the tech giant poking fun at himself and his sometimes controversial persona.
I reinvented electric cars, and I'm sending people to Mars in a rocket ship. Did you think I was also going to be a chill, normal dude?
And also making a personal revelation.
I'm actually making history tonight as the first person with Asperger's to host SNL. Or at least the first to admit it.
He became determined to move to the United States, saying, "I remember thinking and seeing that America is where great things are possible." He also wanted to avoid mandatory military service, which is precisely why he moved. Elon began his journey into the business and tech world in 1995. Once he dropped out, Musk began his own company with his brother Kimball Musk, Zip2, even gaining contracts with the New York Times and the Chicago Tribune. Zip2 was eventually purchased by Compaq Computer in 1999 for $340 million. This was a big milestone for Elon Musk's career as a businessman, as by 1999 he had already become a millionaire, using $10 million as seed capital from the Zip2 sale. In 2000, the online financial services and email payment company merged with Confinity, a company that had PayPal as a service. In October 2002, PayPal was acquired by eBay for $1.5 billion in stock, of which Musk received $165 million.
After hitting the jackpot with PayPal, Elon was looking to work on something that was more meaningful and impactful. The two sectors that he thought were most important were space and sustainable energy. In terms of space, he of course had SpaceX, and in terms of sustainable energy, he had Tesla. Solar City was founded on July 4th, 2006 by Lyndon and Peter Reeve. Though these two were technically the founders and the ones who ran the business day to day, the backbone of the company was Elon Musk from day one.
You're looking at 60 satellites hurtling into the sky. And over the next few decades, Elon Musk is hoping to send 42,000 of these satellites to space, 15 times the number of operational satellites in orbit today. It's part of Starlink, the expansive constellation from Musk and SpaceX that hopes to bring the world low-latency, high-speed internet, promising no more buffering and nearly instantaneous internet in every corner of the world. As of early October, SpaceX has launched more than 700 satellites into orbit, with a plan to release a total of 12,000 over the next 5 years, half of them by the end of 2024. And Musk wants to add another 30,000 to that, coming to a total of 42,000 satellites circling Earth.
Traffic is soul-destroying. It's like acid on the soul. It's horrible. This is, I think, finally, there's something.
Elon Musk looking to save the world. He tweeted this: "If the World Food Program can describe on this Twitter thread exactly how $6 billion will solve world hunger, I will sell Tesla stock right now and do it." Musk is waiting on the UN to lay out a plan. Liz, what do you think?
Maria, I think it's really refreshing to see somebody like Elon Musk stand up to the international community and just say, hey, show me the money. Where is it gone? We've spent hundreds of billions of dollars around the world. And what do we have to show for it?
Since 2018, Grimes has been in a relationship with the second richest man in the world, entrepreneur and innovator, Elon Musk. They met on Twitter and connected through a joke after they both came up with the same pun relating to Rococo and the thought experiment Rocco's Basilisk. On 4th of May of 2020, Grimes gave birth to the couple's first child, XAI. X represents the unknown variable, A is the Elven spelling of AI, meaning love or artificial intelligence, and A12 was the precursor to SR-17, their favorite aircraft, representing something great in battle with no violence.
Entering the facility.
The thought experiment that is Rocco's Basilisk, named after the mythical beast who could apparently kill some intrepid hero with its gaze alone, starts like this. Suppose that in the future we are able to create a hyper-intelligent AI, something straight out of the Singularity. We then ask that AI, as we might, to help us optimize all aspects of human civilization. But then, for reasons unknowable to beings like us compared to its intelligence, it decides that the first step towards optimization starts with inflicting eternal torment on every single human being that didn't want it to come to fruition or didn't help it come into existence in the first place. After all, how can you optimize without the optimizer? How would the Basilisk know that you did or didn't help it come to pass? Well, as we learned in a previous episode of this program, a sufficiently advanced artificial intelligence could literally simulate all of human history, every single human ever, faster than that. So this Basilisk might be able to meaningfully recreate you, every single thought you ever had or will have, and then be confident in its prediction of what you did or didn't do in the past to judge you in the future. Here is where the Basilisk really rears its head. If its creation and its revenge are a real possibility in the future, shouldn't you, all of you, right now, start advocating for its creation or help build it yourself to escape eternal torment and anguish? Well, the good news is that if you've never had this thought, the dilemma never presents itself to you and you can escape it. The bad news is that because of me, now, you can't escape it.
Today we'll explore the intriguing life of Claire Boucher, better known as Grimes, who birthed her first child, XAI, to eccentric innovator Elon Musk in May of 2020. Claire Elise Boucher on the 17th of March in 1988, Grimes attended a Catholic school in Vancouver, Canada. She is of French, Canadian, Italian, Ukrainian, and Métis descent. After graduating from secondary school, Claire relocated to Montreal to study a double major in neuroscience and philosophy alongside a double minor in Russian language and electroacoustics. Claire began writing music in 2007 under the name Grimes. Grimes' first album, Giddy Primes, was a concept inspired by the sci-fi series Dune and released in 2010. She released her second album, Halfaxa, later that year. The exposure and success of these events led Grimes to sign with a record label called 4AD in early 2012. Through 4AD, Grimes released her third studio album, Visions, which was met with much critical acclaim and ranked on Enemy's 300 greatest albums of all time list. Grimes described the making of the album as equally enjoyable and torturous, referring to the 3 weeks she spent isolated in her Montreal apartment, 9 days of which saw her black out the windows, not eat, and not sleep. Grimes also stated in an early interview that a person called Duffy was her muse and the leader of a cult for which she was a high priestess. Speaking about the cult, Grimes said, "The cult was surrealist and completely centered around bureaucracy, so you could never do anything because you were constantly doing paperwork." With a huge imagination, Grimes has talked about creating her own world, in which there are a whole host of new gods who create the simulation that we live in, aka the inspiration for her 2020 album, Anthropocene. Grimes, an inspiring young woman, Grimes furthers her status as a good role model for young women and girls by embracing her individuality. Admitting that she was bullied for her lisp throughout school, Grimes stated that she would not attend speech therapy as her speech impediment gives her a unique voice. It's something that she was born with and is proud of. After they both came up with the same pun relating to Rococo and the thought experiment Rocco's Basilisk.
Yeah, I'm here for time travel. I support it. I guess the future, yeah, definitely the future. I would really like to go like around pyramid building time, but it would probably be more productive for the future. Maybe the end of humanity, but intelligence is more likely to propagate through the universe via AI than via us. So like, it's sad, but like, I'm for it, I guess. I mean, well, it depends. Like, there's like, you know, just regular AI, which isn't actually that impressive, and then there's like AGI, so it depends how deep you want to go.
And now move over, hammer and sickle, because there's a new face of the Communist Party!
The Communist Party is ecstatic because Grimes is helping them enter mainstream politics.
That's a true statement.
You'll recall that Grimes was photographed reading the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. She has come out and said that she does not identify as a communist.
And the reason she was reading the book was to troll the paparazzi. But the Communist Party doesn't care because there's no such thing as bad publicity.
I have a proposition for the communists. So typically, most of the communists I know are not big fans of AI. But if you think about it, AI is actually the fastest path to communism. So, if implemented correctly, AI could actually theoretically solve for abundance. Like, we could totally get to a situation where nobody has to work, everybody is provided for with a comfortable state of being, comfortable living. AI could automate all the farming, weed out systematic corruption, thereby bringing us to as close as possible to genuine equality. So basically, everything that everybody loves about communism, but without the collective farm. Because let's be real, enforced farming is really not a vibe.
Yeah, I'm down with ghosts. I do and I don't, and it's a complex, like, subconscious believing with a conscious disbelieving.
Do you think there is other intelligent life outside the Earth?
It seems probable, but I think this is one of the great questions in physics and philosophy, is where are the aliens? Maybe they're among us, I don't know. Some people think I'm an alien. Not true. Not true.
But maybe we are alien.
Of course I'd say
maybe
that, wouldn't
we
I?
are alien, Ellen. I mean, if you look at this part of the world,
yeah,
they believe that human beings are not from Earth. They came from somewhere else. Eve and Adam came from somewhere else to Earth. So in a way, human being alien to this land. Do you think we'll make contact with alien within the next 50 years?
Well, that's a really tough one to say. I mean, if there are super intelligent aliens out there, they're probably already observing us. That would seem quite likely, and we just are not smart enough to realize it. It's important to have a future that is inspiring and appealing. I mean, I just think that there have to be reasons that you get up in the morning and you want to live. Like, why do you want to live? What's the point? What inspires you? What do you love about the future? And if we're not out there, if the future does not include being out there among the stars and being a multi-planet species, I find that it's incredibly depressing if that's not the future that we're going to have.
I want to get it clear what your thoughts are, because it's mostly Elon's scared of robots. I mean, that kind of thing. Or how do you...
I'm scared of robots.
Or artificial intelligence. Can you, like, clarify exactly what issue you have?
Certain directions that AI could take that would be not good for the future. I mean, I think it'd be fair to say that, like, not all AI futures are benign. Not all.
Okay.
And so if you have something, if we create some digital superintelligence that exceeds us in every way by a lot, it's very important that that be benign. And so actually with a few others, I created OpenAI, which is an AI. It's a nonprofit, actually. There's no. I think the governance structure here is important. So we want to make sure that there was not some fiduciary duty to generate, profit off of the AI technology that's developed. I mean, like, a lot of sort of 501c3s are, they don't have a high sense of urgency. So OpenAI has a very high sense of urgency, and I think that the people that have joined are really, really amazing. And the intent with OpenAI is to democratize AI power. There's a quote that I love from Lord Acton. He was the guy that came up with power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, which is that freedom consists of the distribution of power and despotism in its concentration. And so I think it's important, if we have this incredible power of AI, that it not be concentrated in the hands of a few and potentially lead to a world that we don't want. And basically, I think arguably the leaders in real-world AI as it applies to the real world. And those of you who have seen the full self-driving beta, I can appreciate the rate at which the Tesla neural net is learning to drive. It's just digital intelligence, and as the algorithms and the hardware improve, that digital intelligence will exceed biological intelligence by a substantial margin. It's obvious.
When you say that we'll exceed human intelligence, at some point soon, the machine's going to be smart, not just smarter, like exponentially smarter than any of us.
Ensuring that the advent of AI is good, or at least we try to make it good, seems like a smart move.
But we're way behind on that.
Yes, we're not paying attention. We worry more about what name somebody called someone else than whether AI will destroy humanity. That's insane.
Before we get to like solutions,
we're like children in a playground.
This could be a huge problem for society. What are the scenarios that scare you most?
Humanity really has not evolved to think of existential threats in general. We're evolved to think about things that are very close to us, near term, to be upset with other humans, and not to really to think about things that could destroy humanity as a whole. But then in recent decades, just really in the last century, we had nuclear bombs, which could potentially destroy civilization, obviously. We have AI, which could destroy civilization. We have global warming, which could destroy civilization, or at least severely disrupt civilization.
And excuse me, how could AI destroy civilization?
You know, it would be something the same way that humans destroyed the habitat of primates. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be destroyed, but we might be relegated to a small corner of the world. You could make a swarm of assassin drones for very little money by just taking the Face ID chip that's used in cell phones and having a small explosive charge and a standard drone, and have them just do a grid sweep of the building until they find the person they're looking for, ram into them and explode. You can do that right now. No new technology is needed. Right now.
People just think this stuff is of sci-fi novels and movies, and it's so far away. But every time I hear you speak, it's like, well, no, this stuff is sitting. It's right here.
Probably a bigger risk than being hunted down by a drone is that AI would be used to make incredibly effective propaganda. That would not seem like propaganda. Influence the direction of society, influence elections. Artificial intelligence just hones the message, looks at the feedback, makes this message slightly better. Within milliseconds, it can adapt its message and shift and react to news. And there's so many social media accounts out there that are not people. Like, how do you know it's a person, not a person?
One reason that regulators and others are a little bit in denial about this is the speed, the pace of change. What is the consequence of that speed of change?
The way in which a regulation is put in place is slow and linear,
right?
And we are facing an exponential threat. And if you have a linear response to an exponential threat, it's quite likely the exponential threat will win. That, in a nutshell, is the issue.
You're a neuroscience company, and you're working to build basically an interface to the brain.
Yeah. Electrode to neuron interface at a micro level.
Okay. Could you download Jim?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What?
The long-term aspiration for Neuralink would be to achieve a symbiosis with artificial intelligence.
Basically, an effort for man to merge with machine in a healthy way.
Yes.
To beat machines, you basically have to merge with machines.
Most likely, yes. Essentially, how do we ensure that the future constitutes the sum of the will of humanity? And so if we have billions of people with a high bandwidth link to the AI extension of themselves, it would actually make everyone hyper smart.
Then could I, in the digital gym, could I make him a skilled Mandarin speaker or a tuba player and re-upload it to him?
Yeah. Along the way, Neuralink is going to help solve a lot of nerve problems. Like, so, in fact, we're just talking about, okay, what would it take to really solve for spinal cord injuries? We already know how to do this. It could restore full limb functionality. Very exciting what can be done here. And just memory. Like, as people get older, they lose their memory. As I was saying, it's incredibly sad when a mother forgets her children, and that can be solved too.
In a recent conference hosted by the Wall Street Journal,
Elon Musk was given just 60 seconds to sum up what Neuralink would be working on in 2022. Elon said, quote, "We hope to have this in our first humans, which will be people that have severe spinal cord injuries like tetraplegics and quadriplegics next year, pending FDA approval." He's basing this confidence on the success that the company has already seen through their monkey experiments. Elon said that Neuralink's working well in monkeys, and we are actually doing just a lot of testing and just confirming that it's very safe and reliable, and the Neuralink device can be removed safely.
The percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing, and eventually we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence. I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
It's capable of vastly more than almost anyone knows. And the rate of improvement is exponential. And it scares the hell out of me.
It's definitely going to be outside of human control. The thing that's going to be tricky here is that it's going to be very tempting to use AI as a weapon. It's going to be very tempting. In fact, it will be used as a weapon.
In general, we are all much smarter than we think we are, but much less smart, dumber than we think we are, by a lot. So
the on-ramp to serious AI, the danger is going to be more humans using it against each other, I think, most likely. That'll be the danger. Yeah. Usually there'll be some new technology that will cause damage or death. There will be an outcry.
This tends to plague smart people. They just can't, they define themselves by their intelligence, and they don't like the idea that a machine could be way smarter than them, so they discount the idea, which is fundamentally flawed. That's the wishful thinking situation. I'm really very close to the cutting edge in AI.
Well, I think just be very careful in how we adopt artificial intelligence, and to make sure that researchers don't get carried away. Because sometimes what happens is a scientist can get so engrossed in their work, they don't necessarily realize the ramifications of what they're doing. So I think it's important for public safety that governments keep a close eye on artificial intelligence and make sure that it does not represent a danger to the public. But what to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge. And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income. I think it's going to be necessary. There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen. And if my assessment is correct and they probably will happen, then we need to say, what are we going to do about it? And I think some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary. Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be almost everything will get very cheap. I think the biggest. I think we'll just end up doing a universal basic income. It's going to be necessary. The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment. So if you don't have, if you're not needed, if there's not a need for your labor, how do you? What's the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel useless? That's a much harder problem to deal with.
I've seen you speak in person, we've watched some of your interviews. Like sometimes you seem visibly sad about what's happening.
I think we should try to take the set of actions that are most likely to make the future good for humanity. I'm pro-human. and my faith in humanity has been a little shaken this year, but I'm still pro-humanity.
You've said that this has been the toughest year for you, the most sort of taxing year for you. Like, why?
Essentially, the company was bleeding money like crazy, and just if we didn't solve these problems in a very short period of time, we would die, and it was extremely difficult to solve them.
How close to death did you come?
Within single-digit weeks.
22 hours a day, or like what? How many hours?
Just working, so 7 days a week, sleeping in the factory. I worked everywhere I worked in the paint shop, general assembly, body shop.
You ever worry about yourself imploding? Like it's just too much?
Absolutely. No one should put this many hours into work. This is not good. And people should not work this hard. They should not do this. It's very painful.
Painful in what sense?
It hurts my brain and my heart. It hurts. This is not recommended for anyone. I just did it because if I didn't do it, then good chance Tesla would die.
Do you believe in God?
I believe there's some explanation for this universe, which you might call God.
Elon Musk, thank you for an amazing conversation.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Fascinating.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, sir.
Help you guys with that loading up.
So thank you.